like to thank everyone for coming back and joining us with our the Chill Tea Talks. Again, I'd like to welcome everybody, and I'd like to welcome my guest here, Bonnie Freeman, Dr. Bonnie Freeman. And we'll talk a little bit more about Bonnie in a sense. But again, thank you for coming and joining us in this session. We're going to talk a little bit about education, a little bit, but it's not just education, because Bonnie's a lot more than just that. Is it her involvement in the education process, and see kind of where it led her. So anyway, want to introduce yourself a bit there, Bonnie?
Sure, my name is Bonnie Freeman. I'm Algonquin Mohawk from the Six Nations of the Grand River. Actually, my mom is from Gitchiganzibi, a reserve north of Ottawa called Gitchiganzibi or Maniwaki, and that's where the Algonquin Mohawk comes from. My dad is Cayuga from Six Nations, and I reside on Six Nations. And I didn't grow up on the reserve or in Hamilton. I actually grew up in Rochester, New York, in a little suburban called Greece. And I lived there for majority of my life until I was probably about 28, where I moved up to Canada here because now I have dual citizenship. And I went to school at Mohawk College in the Native Community Care from 1990 to 92, focusing on mental health and addictions. Through that program, I graduated with that program in honors. And then I continued on to McMaster University in 1992, starting to work on my bachelor's degree. And that's where I started getting immersed within the Hamilton community as a student.
Yeah, because I met you in 92. Like, yeah. I know we had a project through NEPA, and it was the Unity Ride.
Yeah, no, the Unity Ride didn't happen until 1995.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. So I met you in the early 90s though. Yeah. I know that.
Yeah, through the Indigenous Studies department.
Okay.
Yeah, I got connected right away with the Indigenous Studies program at McMaster as a student, and then through there I got involved with the First Nations Student Association, and I think in 1993 or 94 I was the student president for that Indigenous Student Association, and then from there we had many conferences with Dr. Dawn Martinhill, the various drum beats and things like that the students would be involved in. She also brought in many elders and people across the country and USA to the Indigenous Studies program to do speaking. And so the students were really, really involved in that. And and it was great to be involved in the student and starting to begin to get involved in the Hamilton Indigenous community as well as the reserve and things like that. And then in 1994, Orville Lookinghorse, Chief Orville Lookinghorse, invited the students out to Saskatchewan for a Unity Ride.
Okay.
And that's where we, myself, another student, and a community member from Six Nations traveled in my vehicle out to Saskatchewan. We didn't know how to ride horses.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh my goodness, the way you rode in City Hall, you look like pros. So what'd you have to do, learn on the way?
Yeah, we learned on the way, 3 weeks on a horse, every day and night. It was early land-based education at that time.
Wow.
We were immersed in ceremonies, and it was truly amazing experience. And I was joking before I went on. I told them I didn't know how to ride a horse, and that they needed to get one of those sawhorses for me.
Oh. My goodness.
Yeah, so we learned on our way through that 3 weeks and 500 miles. And it was an amazing experience. It was based in Lakota ceremony because it was a Lakota ride at that time, and we had to follow Lakota protocols. But we came back, and and that was in 1995, and that's when I was hired as the Indigenous Student Counselor. Shortly after I came back off that ride, I was hired. And part of my job at that time was to work with students, to network with community, and to, there was another thing, student recruitment.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I really immersed myself within this Hamilton community.
Yeah, I just thought you naturally were. I just realized you're 28. That's much later. And no, when I met you, because I know I was doing food bank, I was trying to find a way to help you feed your students, right?
Yeah.
And but I just thought you were always from Hamilton. I didn't know that. So
No, yeah.
you learned some new information.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us about how you recruited people then. I know, I did see you in our community though. So as part, I guess, the community engagement, right?
Right, yeah.
You were looking for students.
Yes. Yeah, we were looking for students as well as bringing community people on campus. We wanted to open the campus up to Indigenous people, and a lot of the events that Dr. Don Martin Hill did wanted to include the Hamilton Indigenous community as well as the Reserve and many other Indigenous communities in regards to these prominent Indigenous elders and speakers that would come on campus, like Ovid Mercury and people like that. So it was important for us as an education program to bring our community in, and as well as come out to our community and be involved. Like, I was involved with the early headache committee,
Yes, you were.
and attended a lot of those meetings on behalf of the Indigenous Studies program and for the students. And we would recruit, I would bring out and recruit at the Bayfront Park powwow events, or the bond events that happened. And I can't remember exactly when we did the horses. I think it was my horse came to Ontario from Saskatchewan. I think it was around I want to say 98. It was a couple of years after I bought him. I got him in 1996, and I think he came in 98, so it might have been 98, 99 when we did the parade.
That parade. Yes.
Down to Bayfront.
Yeah. Oh, actually, no, this parade I'm talking about was from the City Hall.
Yeah, that's the parade I'm
okay.
talking about.
So I had pictures, and I did look for them, but unfortunately I did not find them. But I'm going to get your address. I will find them. I'll send, because I do have an extra copy.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I want to send them to you. We also have them on I've downloaded, or I've had actually one of Tristan downloaded a lot of images, but there's a whole section just on that ride, even including, I think that was my first truck. We were the truck. It was a Ford maroon, Ford 1F50 truck, brand new. And I remember we had the drum in the back, so we had the guys in the drum, they're drumming in the back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Kurt kind of followed the horses. There's the big signage out front with the girls and that, and these guys came up. I just thought, these guys were amazing though. Like, when you came around, like, again, it was that sense of empowerment, I don't know, pride.
Yeah.
Because, just looking in Hamilton with some of the things we did not see that, right? We didn't see those opportunities to express who we were as Indigenous people, and so to me, again, that brought pride. The fact of that drum, and that drum downtown, when that drum's going, it's loud, right?
Yeah.
So, but I remember those experiences, and you brought that one in with the horses. Like, that was magnificent, seeing those horses coming in, and everybody was like just in awe, like, whew.
Yeah.
So yeah, amazing stuff. And then, like you said, being a student recruitment officer, yes, we relied on bond for the powwows for sure. To me, I've always said that if anybody wants to know anything about the Indigenous community, definitely, I don't know how often they would come now, but in the past, it was through our powwows. Like, that's the one time of year we all kind of came together and celebrated life in the general. So. But yeah, amazing woman. Yeah. So go on, tell us more. I just got to say this too, is the fact when I first met Bonnie, as in your position, and then later on in life, because I kept coming back, and then one day you were going for your doctorate or something, and I said, I can't wait. I can't wait for the day to come in and look at Bonnie and say, doctor or professor, and I get to say it now. It's the doctor part, but you earned it. You earned it, so.
Yeah, well, it took me a long time because, well, I started my degree and I kept going and working, and then I would I would mess up. I would fail a couple courses, and just because I took on too much.
Yes.
I just when you can't take on a lot of stuff when you're studying, and especially like at university level, you need to focus on your studies. But I tried to work a full-time job, tried to go to school full-time, and it was too much, and it impacted my studies. So actually, I applied to the School of Social Work and got in, and then because my grades went down, I failed out of it.
Aww.
Yeah, so I ended up continuing working as the student counselor, and felt that was important, and recruit and encourage young people to come to university. And I would go to all different places around Ontario, just encouraging young people.
Was that hard?
No, I loved it.
No, on your part, but do you think it was hard to get those students to think, I can do it?
No, I just shared my story.
Okay.
And I worked with other Indigenous recruiters from various other places like Mohawk College and other universities, and we traveled as a group.
Okay.
So we all shared our various stories with potential students. And I remember I was up in Etawapiskat, and I shared my story as a student and my struggles and how I overcame them and continued to pursue and not give up. And I had that later that evening we went into the community. They were having a community dinner in Etawapiskat, and we were invited, and I'm sitting there, and some of the students came up afterwards and were talking to me, and they're like, oh my God, I couldn't believe somebody like you, that you gave me encouragement that I can go to university. So many counselors and guidance counselors discourage our people and our students. I was discouraged in continuing on with my education. It wasn't until I was 28 that I actually went to college, and because my guidance counselor said, yeah, you can't do college, you can't do university, and it was really discouraging.
You know what, I have to say, that's a very important role as an educational counselor,
Yeah.
That's why I admired you. Here you are, you got all these young people like, come on, let's go. I'll lead the team. So, but that's what it took is that support.
Definitely,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, and I know when I came around you, I was looking at how else can I support you guys,
Yes,
to keep you in school and do all that stuff, right? And that was
yeah.
through the food bank.
Yeah, and that really helped the students. Because students would come to me, and I would notice nobody would have lunches or any food or very little food, and I'm like, well, aren't you going to have lunch, or did you eat? And some of the students would say, no, I can't afford to eat in the cafeteria here at the university, or, I'm saving my money, the little money that I get from post-secondary, to feed my kids at home.
Yes.
So like the food bank and what the contributions that you brought onto campus really, really helped, like the bus tickets and everything like that really helped students, because then they had a little bit of money. But then at that time too, my grandmother passed away, and it brought back memories of me of when I was a young girl, and we would go visit my grandmother on my mother's side up in Maniwaki, and my grandmother early in the morning would make a big pot of soup and homemade bread, and by lunchtime it would be ready, and then all these people from the community would come in and visit my grandparents and sit down, and they would gossip, and they would talk politics, and I would, as a little girl or a young girl, I would sit back and see all these people and all this like gathering and just coming together as a people, and that was really important. So after my grandmother passed away, I remembered that as a memory, and I thought, well, why don't I do that with our students here at McMaster? So I developed soup days, and some of the contributions that you brought, I used to I would make a great big pot of soup. I would buy cookies and lunch meat and bread, and I bought like a little little one burner, and I would make a big pot of soup, and students would come in. It would be Indigenous students, non-Indigenous students, and they would fill the little lounge that we had, and they would be sitting down the hallways, sitting on the floor, just eating soup and sandwiches and talking, and that made me feel really good, knowing that, you know, they were not only nourishing their minds, but nourishing their bodies while they're nourishing their minds, and that was really important.
Definitely.
And then I started talking to some of the students. I know some of the students were struggling in regards to some of the topics. One area, of course, that many students struggle in was statistics. So I would strategically place students together, and I would bring up the conversation. Oh, how you doing about your courses? And then they would start talking about, you know, the courses that they were doing good in, and then that would lead to some of the struggles and challenges they had in other courses. And then they would start talking amongst themselves, and then I would kind of back out of the conversation. And then they would kind of pair up and have study groups or study together, and that helps students achieve their courses and with each other. So it was kind of like a peer mentoring thing in the way I matched students up.
Oh, you had purpose there, matched them
Yeah.
up, you knew. Well,
Yeah.
that's, again, culturally, your mother, those instincts, we watch the community, we watch the people, and you help to guide them into their gifts, you know, what they're
Yes.
good at and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So, but I really found and then there was quite a change, because I know when I was young, we didn't have a, you know, McMaster student program or Mohawk College program or having liaison work. We didn't have none of that. It was
Yeah.
not there. So how did that exactly come about at McMaster?
That was through a government program. We would bring money, and that paid for my position, as well as some of the things that the Indigenous Studies in regards to the curriculum and the program and things like that. But it was more to support students.
Okay.
Yeah. So that program was my position, as well as I can't remember what else, but it was to support the Indigenous Studies program.
Yeah, because even you
more or
got like an
less.
office, got
Yeah.
a room, you even got a bigger room.
Yeah.
Because I know one point, last time I think I was on campus grounds, even had an elder.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know? So,
yeah.
long way.
Yeah.
Long way from soup days. Still need the soup for the kids, but, you know, from looking for stuff and struggling in that. So, yeah, even like Mohawk College, same thing, like, because there was nothing there.
Yeah.
And then now they got, you know, they got an office, they got, you know, a space for the kids, they got that beautiful, I wouldn't say a mural, but that piece that's outside. These guys got some nice spaces on campus. Talk about any campus spaces, or what's special up there?
Now, we have, they've taken my job, and I would, like I said, do many things from promotion to student academic counseling to social counseling to managing everything, recruitment, and everything I did. Now there's a person that does that job, which is great, which is excellent. And so I think there's one or two recruiters. There's
It's not just one person
no,
doing
not
it
just,
all.
no, and there's somebody that does organize events. There's a manager. There's they have an elders program that comes in. There's an academic counselor, as well as a social counselor, I believe. And then there's the Indigenous Studies, which has a number of professors involved in that.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have a ceremonial room. There's a number of offices there. There's a director for the Indigenous Studies. We're now a department.
Wow.
Yeah, that just started on July 1st.
A department.
Yeah.
Gone from nothing, one person.
Yeah.
Wow, you've come a long way.
Yeah.
Now you're a department.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. How many years did that take?
Well, since 1990.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so about over 30 years,
30
right?
years. Well, that's what we're finding in our talks right now.
Mhm.
About 30 years, right? And many have planted seeds. We feel a lot of us planted seeds, but it took like 30 years to start seeing something grow from those seeds.
Yeah,
So it
There's
takes a while, but we know it takes a long time to do everything anyway.
yeah.
So what would you like to leave as your legacy with people, though? Like, what are those great bonding moments that you cherish and, you'd like to share?
I guess as a legacy, to leave hope for students to know that they can achieve, the academic credentials and becoming a professor, if that's what they want to do, that they can do. They can attain their PhD. They can do a master's. They can. They can do anything that they want to, more or less.
The way it should be.
Yeah, and that we can do it within the frame of who we are as Indigenous people or as Ongwahoi people, and know that our knowledge and our culture and who we are as a people is central within the education system. I know that many times we talk about two-eyed seeing or two rows, trying to bridge that Indigenous, non-Indigenous, but I think it's important to know that to centralize who we are as Indigenous people or Ongwahoi people, and that our knowledge and our ways of being and doing are central to who we are as a people, and that it belongs within the academy, that we have a lot to offer, and that we can bring that back to our communities and support our people and our younger people, the next 7 generations, to make it even stronger, to bring. I would love to see somebody do a PhD in our Mohawk language. It probably has been done or is being done.
Oh, that's good though.
Yeah.
But it's that time to dream. Like if you had that's what this cup is about, right? We were talking, our logo here, we'll get a better picture of the logo later, but this whole logo, this whole upper part is where we want to be. And we're coming back though. We're coming back, and I think too, like what you're saying, validating our own knowledge. We knew what we were doing. We knew what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And I think too, as Indigenous people, like, I want to see the pride. I want to see my kids be proud of who they are. I really think education is where it's at, though, how we're going to get back.
Yeah, definitely.
It has to be to start teaching our young, right, to be proud of who they are, and validate our culture. We know what we're talking about, people.
Yeah.
And then help them to grow. I did get some college in there, Mohawk College, all business. I can't help it, I'm business. But it was a different world. I have to say that.
Yeah.
I had a very hard time because I thought, where do I fit in? So I know as a student going into those situations, you think, where do I fit in?
Yeah.
Or how do I fit in?
Yeah.
Because you feel like such an outsider.
Yeah. Well, yeah, my experience like growing up too and school was a lot like that because we were the only Native family in Greece, and I had to grow up that way. My mom went to residential school, so she never obtained anything higher than a grade 3 education, and my dad went to day school on Six Nations, so I don't think he ever graduated from high school or from. And then they moved from the reserve to New York State. So, and they didn't want to talk about being Indian or Native because for them, it was bad to be Native. So I didn't really have any acknowledgement or any support because
they didn't want to be.
So it wasn't until I came back when I was younger.
But I have to admit, our parents during those times, grandparents, all that, they went through hell.
Yeah, they did.
They went through hell.
Yeah.
Right? So, I can understand, because my father didn't talk about residential school either until well into his 50s. Residential school did affect our people greatly. and, for parents, well, you were saying what your parents went to. I think my mother, she got to grade 7, and my father got to grade 5. That's as far as they got. So, and it was education, even though I know my father really seen the value of education, right? But at the same time, it's what was done. It was hard. It was hard. It was a hard thing. So it took me time to get through, right? But actually, when I was going through in the other part, I did get through there fairly fast because I could have skipped a grade, stuff like that, but they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't, no, you can't skip her a grade, she's got to stay here, right? So I got used to that. But again, your story, I know, again, another area we ran into, the two of us, is the homelessness area. That's another area when I came in and I worked with you or met with you, because I know back in 2000 started to work on the homelessness report, Voices of Our People. I got a copy of it somewhere in a tote somewhere. Yeah, that was a lot of work conducted. And Janice and I had an opportunity to speak about that this morning, who the players were for that, right? And the role she played too within that. So we're all connected somehow, right?
Yeah.
And so I know you came in on board. We did the evaluation, or not the evaluation, we did the actual study. You came in and did the evaluation part of it, right? So you took our information and gathered your own information. And I'm going to put you on the spot now saying, I know I see that, but put you on the spot just to say more or less, what was your role there?
Yeah, for that evaluation, I became aware of it through the headache committee,
Okay, yeah.
and at that time I was working or doing my BSW and working as the student counselor at McMaster, and I had to do a 4th-year placement. So I proposed to the school social work that I would do this 4th-year placement and do an evaluation of the homelessness project. I wrote up a proposal, presented it to headache, and hire a couple students to work with me to put this report together, because we talked about during our meetings the importance of having to know what people were doing with the monies that were handed out during that project. So so I hired a couple students, an Indigenous student and a non-Indigenous student, and we kind of got a list of all the people that received funds through that grant.
So this is Indigenous money that we were giving out to Indigenous agencies. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so then the 3 of us would go out and talk to those individuals and see what they spent the money on and do the evaluation, and then we put together everything in a booklet.
Yes.
Yeah.
The report, the final report.
Yeah.
So
But it was interesting, and really, it was a really good project to see what all the good things that came out with that project.
I know later on you came up and you did the evaluation. So I think it was a period of time too that we started to realize the importance of data.
Definitely, yeah.
We, because we had to.
Yes, yeah.
In order to get funding and to justify. So I guess that role, that's when you came in to justify the money we gave ourselves and the projects we were doing, and but I'm glad that it was done. And again, it was instrumental, though, again, for data collection.
Yeah.
Right? And we had to realize that.
Yeah.
We had to begin to realize, we have to tell our stories, we have to share our numbers, we have to do this to play this game.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we did. Is there, when you, again, I don't know, you got other stuff you want to share with us?
Yeah, I think it was, I got involved with also the Métis Women's Circle.
Oh, Lisa's group.
Yeah, Lise and Carol Leclerc.
Yes.
And they did a lot of in-school, secondary, supporting a lot of the students.
You're right, yes.
And I would go in and talk to many of the students through that program. But one of the things, and it goes back to the horses, I did a couple programs with them co-created a horse program, and the first one was it was a mixture of students, and they would come on to one of the farms that I had my horse at, and it was I would do activities with them to help them work through different situations that they were experiencing with racism and things like that, and the inequities that they were facing as young people in secondary school. But this one event, or this one activity I had, I had them place a saddle on a horse, and they placed the saddle on the horse, and they were doing up the one strap, and then there's a second strap behind the withers of the horse, and the one student pulled it, and horses are very sensitive in their back, under their back stomach, and he started running and kicking, and so I gathered the students and took them out of the arena that we were in, and all of a sudden you hear this rumbling of horses, and all the horses come over the hill, and they just come because they're hearing this commotion of this other horse.
Oh, okay, coming to his defense?
Yeah,
Okay.
either coming to the defense or seeing what's happening. But it was a significant point for these young people, because they're like, oh my God, it's just like this fight that just happened at school, and so-and-so got in a fight with so-and-so, and this is what happened. And they related what the experience of the horses were happening with them as young people, and we got to process that, and it was really, really, they got to look through the situation through another lens, and and I pulled out various teachings to help them support themselves when situations like that happen at school. Another time I had another program, a young men's program through with the Métis Women's Circle and one of the schools, and it was a number of young men. One of them had social anxiety and couldn't really talk to people. Another one was homeless, and another one was struggling with grades and courses and things like that at high school. And it was like a 6 to 8 week program, and working with the horses and bringing various activities and awareness and teachings and things like that to them. And by the end of the program, the one young man ended up, as he left the program, he became a leader and a speaker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it just shifted him. The young man that was homeless, he ended up going into college and going into nursing school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the program really had a great impact on these young men.
Yeah.
And
We need more of that.
yeah,
We
yeah.
need more of that.
Yeah, so so I remember going into, and I would promote the various education programs and university programs and Indigenous studies at university, and whether they went to McMaster or Mohawk or to another school, I was happy to see them progress and to be able to move forward in their lives and in the education lives. Yeah,
That's good. You're really instrumental in finding ways to help them. And again, it comes down to being supportive of our people, the young people in general, and it still continues today. Like, I know, like Mohawk and McMaster are you guys got good places now. You have homes, you have places that will feed you and help you, and where with a while back, and I'm hoping that in time we'll have talks with them, is the other people who managed to just get kids through high school. Because that's another ball game, right? That's first stage.
Yes.
If you can't get them out of first stage, you're not going to get them up here.
Yeah.
Right? And I think of Stephanie Sky. I really do. And I was hoping that she would be in on our talks. She was like you, Mama Bear, looking after all the cubs, right? Getting them and encouraging them and listening to them and helping to support them, right?
Yeah.
So Melissa Button, another one, Catholic. She's with the Catholic.
Yep.
Another one, she's got a whole herd of kids too, right?
Yep.
And so I think why I think of these guys a lot is in the sense that I had brought some pictures with me from the Santa Claus parades.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a few years there we had a lot of students. So anyway, we're just winding up here, and I've asked everybody else in the sense of what is your legacy? What do you want to leave these guys? Your family, your kids, you know? Hopefully you want grandchildren at some point, I don't know. Like, what would you like to leave, or what would you like to see for our future?
Yeah, I think just hope and knowing that they can be who they are, and if they want to attain or pursue a particular career or area within education, that they can do it, that it's possible, and with hard work, and yes, you're going to have mistakes, there's going to be challenges, but with those challenges and with those mistakes, like myself, I had to pick myself up, and there's a lot of people around to support us, to go seek that support and get back up and do it. You can do it. You can get through it, and that it's not something negative. Mm-hmm. If you do fail at something. I failed at social work, and now I'm teaching. I'm a professor in social work. So it's important to know that you can do it, and don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up. Yeah,
that's the biggest thing. Don't give up.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the best thing about our people. We don't give up.
Yeah.
You know, if you can't do it that way, you'll find another way to do it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good thing. And I'm glad you're here in this community to help our young people. Well, it's nice to meet the doctor, Dr. Bonnie Freeman at McMaster. I'm so proud. And I remember when I was young, I can't wait to call you doctor or professor, you know. So, but we're going to just finish this. Okay, I'd like to thank everybody again for coming and taking part in our session here. We talked a little bit about education, but mainly about Dr. Bonnie Freeman. So again, thank you for coming and joining us in our talk here and educating us on all the good work you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.